All right, hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine audience for another installment in our CDO Magazine Executive Interview Series. I'm Kirk Ball, EVP and CIO of Giant Eagle and a member of the CDO Magazine editorial board. And I'm pleased today to be joined by Habib, who is the co-founder and CEO of Ryder. Ryder is a generative AI platform for the enterprise with proprietary foundation models and a customizable application layer. Ryder supports generative AI use cases across marketing, support, product, HR, and more. So welcome, May.
Oh, thank you, Kirk. Thanks for having me.
What are the role and that internal data and ML teams are playing as companies go to try and figure out what's the right approach for them? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, love that question. The folks who have invested in data over the past decade, those are the folks who are really ahead here. And it is a world of difference. If, let's say we've got a use case where somebody wants to automatically generate employee communication once the earnings call transcript is out, right? We've had that earnings call and we worked really hard on that script, and there's all sorts of downstream communication that happens. Hey, wouldn't it be great if we weren't, recreating the wheel every time? That's a great use case for generative AI. And, we've built lots of examples like that. For example, if you're an organization where, 30 minutes after someone has that idea, right, all the training data to build it is in our inbox or is in a shared folder, very different than if we're kind of weeks along before we've got something like that. And that's a smaller kind of sample set type of example. In retail, sometimes to retrain a model or to do a big fine tuning because, we need to automate a process completely with no humans in the loop, then we need thousands of examples. And if we have to OCR that out of, manufacturer labels, very different type of speed than if we can hook up to, a Snowflake database, right? And kind of do this via API. And so the culture set by a lot of these data and ML teams across the business functions, we are seeing have a big impact on how quickly companies can get value out of generative AI solutions, for sure. So, they have a big role to play before we even get to day one.
So you mentioned a term that I want to dive in on a little bit. I want to double click on, and it's human in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of concern amongst employees in an organization. Is my job going to go away? What's going to happen with this? Am I being replaced? Talk about best ways for instances where you see the application of Ryder. Let's say, for instance, in a situation where the marketing department is using Ryder to decrease the amount of time it takes to get a promotion or marketing campaign developed. How many of those campaigns do you really see that are truly just totally autonomous with no human in the loop?
Zero.
Exactly. And so I think that's kind of the point, right? This is not a replacement. This is an accelerant. It's an additive. It's helping supercharge getting work done. And it's really a combination of the partnership between the human and the generative AI capability to really accelerate the volume and velocity of capability and work that can get done. Is that kind of consistent with what you're seeing?
Absolutely. And I wrote about this at some point. We don't like this characterization of human in the loop. It's like, it sounds like, you're at a circus and like the animals are doing all the work, we characterize it as expert and AI collaboration. Because it is, your job isn't just kind of like, assembly line at the end. That is really not a sophisticated application of and rollout of the technology. What we're really doing is going in and saying, what does this team do? And what does that team do that can really be reinvented and scaled up with AI? And a lot of it is, the more table stakes, keep the lights on type of work. So everything from, I'm always going through, these influencers and the videos that they posted and the comments that they've made in forums. And that's, responding to them and analyzing those videos, et cetera. That's 80% of my day. Gosh, I'd love to actually have time for the relationship building. That is like my actual community manager job. And so we are reinventing those workflows. And so you're getting AI to really do some heavy lifting on the more time intensive work so that the expert can do, the creative piece and the piece that only they can do, the piece that requires kind of the human to human type of relationship building and just even mind space, right? To think about what could happen next. And I've been very excited in our customers who have gotten really enabled here. And it hasn't happened, probably not a single customer where, we or they feel like they've made like absolute complete use of the technology and they're fully implemented, et cetera. But it is happening now on a team by team basis. But the teams that are really excelling are the teams now that are kind of breathing a sigh of relief. They don't have 50 hours of work to do a week that is not as creative as they'd like it to be. And they're freed up to do a lot of the second order things that they've always wanted to do. So, the use cases that people have for writer, once they're at that point, that's kind of the really cool next level type stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction. And I appreciate you talking about the difference between talking about a collaborative relationship between generative AI and the team that will leverage that tool versus just calling it human in the loop. Human in the loop basically says that the generative AI capability is a superior level of intelligence and the humans just brought in at the end just to kind of do final checks, right? When in fact, really most of the time, or I think all the instances that I've seen, it's really a collaborative set of work that's going on. And it really is the two sets of intelligence coming together that really creates something that's really, really spectacular and doing it in a time frame that is absolutely amazing. So I think that's a really good distinction that you bring up. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So any other tips or any other suggestions as companies look to inject generative AI into their enterprise, things that they can do to make sure that their employees, their associates are willing to adopt the utilization of this type of capability? And then what do they need to do to upskill those team members so that they're fully capable of, and they're fully capable, but how do we get them prepared to take advantage and have a really rich partnership between the generative AI capability?
Yeah, great question. So what we're seeing in the data is really interesting. We ask people how productive they are with Writer, both just in their day-to-day and on a task-by-task basis. And the majority of folks, over 70%, say they're at least 30% more productive in a whole day, which is like really astounding type of results. And the execs are very happy about that, right? That is, it opens up incredible potential for, headcount avoidance and productivity increases and just growth potential. What I think is extra interesting, when you double click, there are, depending on the company, 10 to 15% of those respondents who say they are 200% or more productive. And I think that's really interesting, especially as I think about, the features on our roadmap that help connect, generative AI to tooling in kind of a automated workflow based way. And I do think there is a set of early adopters here that could be 3, 4, 5 times more productive than their colleagues. Mm-hmm. And as a leader or an executive, that can be worrying, right? Because it produces and introduces kind of a bit of a hierarchy, right, in the organization. And I think it is the responsibility of the technology providers and those leaders introducing generative AI, the folks who want that digital transformation with AI, to really ensure a more equitable distribution of the skills. And so we've got a whole methodology around how we teach everybody, leave nobody behind on the AI side. And when you've partnered, I think, really closely with an organization on a set of, trainings and showcases and workshops and office hours, you get a much deeper distribution of the skills attainment. So, I would say thinking about implementation, rollout, adoption is probably, after making the kind of infrastructure and platform decisions, probably the best way that a technical team or an executive team can ensure the success of their AI program.
Listen, May, I really want to thank you for spending time with us. I know you're on the West Coast and we're doing this in the morning, and it's really early for you. But so I appreciate you taking time to spend some time with us.
You got it.
And for our audience, I would encourage you to check out Writer, a very impressive platform, and take a look, see what you think.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.